Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Magic the Gathering Arena. Today is Wednesday, January 1st, 2020. It is a new month and a new year, and because of that we have a new profile things that we have to deal with. Bronze tier 1 on constructed play and bronze tier 4 on limited rank. I haven't been spending any money, so the limited rank probably will only get up so far, whereas constructed rank can get up a lot higher. Now, in watching the end of the year talk of what Wizards of the Coast did good and bad this year, it was pointed out that the only new feature added to Magic Arena this year was, last year I suppose at this point, was the Friends list, which is not really super functional from what I hear. So there's some weirdness there. Yeah, I can't even get the thing to go away. So that is one of the growing concerns and one of the initial concerns certainly of Magic Arena, is that somehow it would just not be handled well. And when you look at the store and you look at just the long list of things that they've tried to sell you, they certainly are not shy about trying to charge you money while actually adding very little. There were some minor improvements also to the deck construction feature also, in all fairness. Now, one of the other things that was mentioned, we've got some packs open here, is that the Brawladays is something that I need to look at before I think about doing it, and spoiler alert, I don't think I need to do it, because effectively, if I was going to do Brawladays to get one commander card, I should have done it at the very beginning of its offering, which would have been like somewhere around Black Friday, I imagine. I am missing that card, so that commander card is something I could get with a wild or mythic rare instead. But look what it says here. I really wasn't paying a lot of attention. First of all, it ends January 16th with the new expansion, so I could only play Brawls then as much as I would want for 10,000 gold, which is roughly $12 plus. Like, it's roughly $12 in real world money for one card. In the digital game, that's really expensive. Whereas you could buy 10 packs of cards otherwise. It says join the events and play any number of Brawl games until the event ends, and then it's just the standard things that are banned. When you win, you get Rice the Redeemed. Well, you could get Rice the Redeemed a lot easier and a lot cheaper, or just live without it. And I think in Magic the Gathering, particularly if you're playing Pauper, if you're playing like a Pauper, or just being cheap about it and not putting hundreds upon thousands of dollars into your either paper Magic card collection or into Magic Arena. Let's re-roll this. You probably don't want to spend $12 on a card, which just leaves us with the standard shake-up and the mastery. The standard shake-up will help us get more experience. We might as well get more experience. Now, yesterday I could have played and I didn't, so I missed out on some rewards, and frankly that's just where it's going to kind of boil down to. It's too much of a commitment to be required every day to play a minimum of 10 to get experience, and 15 to get all the possible rewards you could ever get. If we were to look at the collection and just look at what's not collected, I showed this off before, from Throne of Eldraine, which is where I started. There's a considerably small list here of cards that I just don't own. It's not big at all, and if you just move forward, I think you'll pretty quickly find that you kind of don't need to own all the cards. I really wish these collectible card games really stood up to their name a lot more and were actually reasonably collectible to most people playing the game. They are kind of pathetically not what you would expect. And the card that's being offered is, let's see, is over here, but it's not even a Throne of Eldraine card. Let's see, where is it? I found it once before. Here, there it is. Rise the Redeemed. If I wanted to craft one, I could craft it with one of my 9 rare wild cards. It's not even a mythic rare, so I could do that any second I needed this card. But do I need this card? Because it just creates a 1/1 green-white Elfin Warrior creature token, and for each creature token you control, create a token that's a copy of that creature, which might be cool, but it would only really work if you could create some other kind of creature tokens, or have an enchantment that didn't make them 1/1s. So then that leaves us with Standard Shakeup. This seems like this is probably Magic the Gathering's going in the right direction, just saying, hey, let's do some research and development and some experimentation in the real world instead of just theoretical research and development that they typically, I think, do years in advance of releasing a new expansion. So they're just gonna ban cards that they think might be problematic based on seeing the reception of Throne of Eldraine for the past couple of months. And I pretty much just have to play, I think, my standard decks, because I doubt I really even have any of these cards. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't look like too much is different. Cauldron Familiar would affect my black deck, but that's kind of it. And then I just have to play to 5 victories, and for spending 2,500 gold, I'll get 1,000, which will be a wild card, a skin, which is probably not worth really anything. I don't think any of these skins are really worth anything. Another 1,000, and another 1,000. So 3,000 XP, 3,000 XP on the mastery at this point would be 3 more uncommon wild cards, which is not terrible. So let's do that. Let's see. Are these decks playable? Yeah, everything's playable except for this, and this. Version 1.1s of some decks and some of the default decks. Let me ask this question. The deck I got from playing being a Amazon Prime, Twitch Prime subscribers playable. So yeah, we can just submit that deck and then play. So you don't even have to really change your strategy. As for the accountability or what I've been doing with my time segment, I've done a little bit of editing and preparing videos to be uploaded from MTG Arena. I have to do that every occasionally. But mostly I've just been randomly falling asleep and waking up, and also programming on my my digital door sign, of which there's a couple bits of progress. One, I might be able to actually source the parts that I'm using for considerably scry 3 at the beginning of your first upkeep. Yeah. So we're gonna play this on the first. So what do we want? Let's go ahead and get rid of that. And get rid of that. So cheaper parts makes it a lot more potentially viable. Like there's less of a fear of having to overprice myself out of a potential market and out of potential sales. I figured out how to start putting some of the memory things, memory variables, in a part of the memory that the circuitry keeps alive even when it goes into sleep mode. Now it does seem to me like there is considerably less memory available in sleep mode, and probably slower memory too, if I was to guess, that's kept alive. But it shouldn't be too big of a problem. I just kind of have to rewrite all of my code. I'm gonna have to do a lot of hard coding just to get rid of unimportant calculations. It really is a great example of making a embedded system where you know all the variables versus making a more open-ended system that you would expect to normally have to deal with in computer programming. Normally, for instance, you would have some function or predefined method to get the resolution of a screen. And you can certainly see, even in video gaming, how if the games don't get the resolution right, or don't bother to get the resolution at all, then it will just make an assumption and put you at the wrong resolution, or the unpreferred resolution of the game. And often you'll see, even if something makes a window that is the right size, if it's an older game, it may be 4:3 ratio instead of 16:9, and thus you just have black bars on the edges. So that's how I've been playing. But there's definitely an argument to be made that I should not do that, because if the program on an embedded CPU hardware is spending that extra effort to calculate what the resolution of the screen is and redraw all the images, or have it, at the very least, the variables recalculated so it looks good on any screen, much in the same way that CSS and HTML5 redraws itself based on how whoever's web browser is looking at it. That's very nice, but it just costs more CPU cycles. And there's really no reason to use more RAM or more CPU cycles. So I'm just hard coding, or in the middle of rewriting everything to hard code it. Now I did find out that, at least I saw on a forum post, and I guess that I'll take it as true, that the e-paper screens are only supposed to be redrawn at a minimum of every 3 minutes, which makes it a pretty crappy clock, certainly. Nobody's going to be happy with a clock that that can only tell you the time every 3 minutes. It would be a pretty generic thing. If you control creatures with flying, draw 2 cards. Yeah, there's kind of nothing I can do here. So yeah, I'm just in the middle of the process of doing that. However, unfortunately, in the middle of the process of doing that, I screwed up my QR code generating code, which significantly dropped from about 12 lines of code, or 12 significant lines, down to basically 1 line of significant code, mostly just by the fact that I eliminated a lot of the quiet space padding and bordering that you have to put out on the outside of a QR code. Instead, just saying, you know what, I can get that by default if I just position the QR code in the middle of the screen, then all the screen around it will be by default quiet space. Let's see. Well, I'm gonna lose. Let's see, is there any way I can turn this around? No, not a single way. Today, for the most part, is the end of the Steam summer sale, winter sale. So, I've done everything I wanted to do. I credited my account about... Let's switch over to this. I think I could understand and play this a little bit better. There's no failure count or anything. It turns out, by the way, the drafts that they're doing right now are bot drafts, which allegedly don't work the way a real-world draft would work, because you're just not playing against real-world people. I would personally, as somebody who's new to the game or returning to the game after many changes in many years, would kind of prefer the bot drafts not disappear 100%. But also, I totally get that draft is one of, if not the major way in which people play paper magic. So an inability to actually play against real people is unacceptable. It also, I guess, was somewhat obvious that it was bot drafts, because we weren't seeing any long delays in between me picking a card and anybody else picking cards, and we see constant long delays otherwise. This one gives me 1 life, so we'll take that. and just do no attack. Not a lot of news still. The Steam Winter Sale. Yeah, I credited my account enough to buy the Christmas ornament item, and up to level 15, which getting my level up is ridiculous. I'm already at like a level 100, and there is no reason to go any higher. The whole trading card badge system is just a joke. Do I want to attack or do I want to defend? So yeah, but I still get suckered into it and filled out a lot of games that I had gotten trading cards for to create badges. As you craft more badges, you then get trading cards for the sale badge, which can be upgraded infinitely. I think I upgraded it 14 times or so. I might even end up upgrading it one more time, since there seems to be still one more day of going through this discovery queue and one more challenge. I'll end up with about 300 extra tokens that I'll spend on backgrounds that I'll either then sell or turn into Steam gems that then I'll sell. And I canceled all my current sales that had been sitting around for a year. I overpriced everything that I put up for sale, clearly, which I've already sold a ton of stuff by just pricing it the price that Steam tells me to, but I'm selling a lot of things for a penny, basically, it's people are paying 3 pennies and 1 penny is getting added to my account, which is not really worth the effort. It's ridiculous. But sacks of Steam gems, on rare occasions when somebody is pulling some kind of money laundering shenanigans, I imagine, will sell for $3, and a stack of 1,000 gems is certainly way selling at $3 is a ton of profit there. But there really is no viable economic process here or real world economy going on. It's just all a waste of time. It's just all shenanigans and silliness to get artificial goods that aren't really worth it, or to get an artificial rank that's not really worth it. 3 other planes. Well, I don't own a plane, so there we go. It does seem like the Steam confirmation for selling things only triggers after you've listed about 100 items. So for the first 100 items, it wasn't bothering to ask me to go to the two-factor authentication and confirm things. After that, it was. No big deal there. And they may have, but they've put like a checkbox on the Steam Steam cell phone app confirmation app, but they really haven't done anything amazingly new or interesting with the Steam app. Yeah, they had me jumping through hoops, doing all these features to chat with people and broadcast and invite people to play multiplayer games. I had to reinstall Borderlands 2 and invite someone to play through that because the 2 other games I had tried that were already installed just weren't working. Let's see. 1-1 counter. Let's see. Okay. Next. All attack. Next. This one's not attacking. Seriously? Yeah. So, I'm pretty much done with the Steam Winter Sale. I'm still e-begging, asking people to support me by friending me and gifting me either gift cards or games they'd like to see me cover or games off my wish list. But in all actuality, I'm sitting on at least $35 of the $50 I credited, which means I did spend $15 buying trading cards, which does just really scream that I have a minor, if not major, addiction there. It really is too close to gambling for comfort. But yeah, the rest of the money is probably just gonna sit there and we'll wait until there's another sale, an individual sale. And that's not a bad thing by any means. Like, having cash when there's an individualized sale may prove to be a lot more useful than buying things at the moment. Alright, I'm gonna do that. Now he's gonna take out my main guy, but it's not gonna matter too much. Trying to find the tab I had opened, but I can't find it, so we'll just go through the video game news in order. Let's see. This white, and then all attack. At the beginning of 2020, it is the marker point, the easiest marker point, certainly to just say 6 months from now, I'm gonna do a follow list cleanup, and anything that was released or in early access before January 1st, 2020 will be removed from the follow list on either the competing principles of either it's never coming out of early access or it's going to come out of early access in some way that I would still get that message and know. And so there's no reason for it to stay on the follow list. I'm doing fine here, so I might as well just keep attacking. So yeah, I can already see the beginning of the end, and that probably means that we'll really just get this done on Magic, and then that'll be it. If I have more things to do, I think I'll probably just do them off screen. Like, I really don't even have any, like, end of the year podcasts to listen to or anything like that. I've just been mostly listening to random radio station rebroadcasts on YouTube. I haven't even really caught up with a lot of the video game normal YouTube stuff I was listening to or watching. But yeah, I'll probably just fall asleep after this stream and then wake up late in the evening. That's what I've been doing for the past week or so. That's the problem with insomnia, is it's just, at least for me, never consistent at all. Let's see. +2/+2 and gains flying. Somehow I'm gonna end up losing, regardless of this. I don't know how this is gonna happen, but somehow I'm still gonna end up losing. I decided on my electric door sign, see, that's what I figured, to install a DNS captive portal server so that it just makes it a little bit easier when you're connected to it to set it up initially, in a way that you don't have to actually type in an IP. You can just type in any gibberish you want and it will just redirect you to wherever you I just want to make sure we're getting the daily quest done, and we are, it seems. So you could type in like Google, you could type in Bing, you could type in anything, it doesn't matter. It'll just redirect all DNS transfer in it to the setup page, and then when the setup page has been set up, it'll disconnect you and turn off the Wi-Fi in that mode, and then connect to a regular Wi-Fi that would connect to actual internet. When designing a device, you want to do your very best to make it as idiot-proof as possible. There really is no reason not to. We had an interesting thing there. We could see he was clicking on his pet, changing the color, which is something, I suppose. Like, it's a little surprising you can see that, but whatever. The pets in particular are really a great example of how they have been overly focused on selling cosmetic features instead of making a better product or a better game in general. There's no need for pets to exist in this game at all. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Savage, which looks like an 80s game if I've ever seen one, but it says it's coming out from in 2019 from Mirrorsoft, which I often misread as Microsoft. They want $4.54, English only. There's nothing here that looks interesting. I might play a game like this if it had some pedigree and people like remembered it existed, but it doesn't, and I don't. So yeah, there really is no reason to... Oh man, I played totally out of order there. I should have put that on the field first. Then when I had played this, I would have gained a life, and it would have given me 2 lives. Yeah, we may just boil down to a silent playthrough, because there really is just no new news. Can I play this? To take half of his life? No? What am I missing? Probably just one more land. Next we have a game on Steam called Street Hoop. This is from Digicon. It says it's 2019 also. If this is a real game that came out, it probably was an arcade game from the looks of it, and don't fully recognize it. Data East 3-on-3 basketball game in 1994. English only, full audio. Excuse me. I guess that deserves to go on the fall list. We'll see if other people have some real nostalgia for it or not. That's really where that would boil down to, is do people have nostalgia for it, or is it really just people selling a very old product that nobody remembers or cares about? There definitely are some 3-on-3 basketball games, street basketball games, that have come out, like NBA Jam in the past, that have some history to them, and I suppose should be shown off. But I wouldn't ever make the argument that there's more than a spotlight at most for every single annualized release of a lot of the sport games. And a lot of sport games too don't even deserve that much. It would very well make a lot of sense to completely ignore them and not mention the dozens of other NBA games. Let's see, what is this gonna do? A 1+1+1 counter, which won't work because of Blight Beetle. Next we have a game on Steam called Neon Aileron, which looks like an old side-scrolling shoot-'em-up game. Side-scrolling shooter. Doesn't look very visually polished or very interesting. $9 they want discounted in English full audio. Also, I don't think this is an old game being released. I think this is just a bad game being released. Is there a really good reason why you would need to release a game on January 1st, 2020? Not really. The video game industry is eternally in that position where they are should have played the land first. That would have given me one more health. They're eternally in the position where they are pushing release dates back, and as long as they make the quarter or make the fiscal year or make the actual year, they're fine. there's really no benefit to being early in video game developments. Either you're on time or you're late, and usually you're not admonished too much for being late. So if I do this, which I just did, all they're going to do is kill this guy, which is going to leave me completely open for the next attack. And I suppose I could try to do 13 more turns and 13 damage, but the odds of that working are probably infinitely approaching 0. I saw a scientific story that maybe the headline was sensationalized and not accurate, or maybe there's still some problems, but it seems like quantum entanglement data transfer technology, commonly known as quantum teleportation, has been done in a lab using 2 silicon type chips instead of quantum technology up until this point being done in special clean cold rooms using what looked like closer to plumbing equipment than computer equipment, running liquid cooling nitrogen. Now the thing about quantum teleportation is it's not going to be beam me up, Scotty, and move matter around. Arguably, even the teleporters in Star Trek really didn't do that. Instead, it was always making an exact copy of a person and destroying potentially the original. But the benefit of quantum teleportation is no more cell phones. With quantum entanglement, theoretically, as we understand the universe, the 2 particles that are entangled can be at any point in the universe, and they will be forever interconnected, and one will spin the opposite direction that the other spins. If you slow down or stop the one particle, the other one will slow down and stop. Or if you reverse the direction, the other one will reverse, which sets you up for a rudimentary and basic. I guess we'll give this one more try, but if I don't win here, I'm going to move to a different deck. It sets you up for a rudimentary basic way of transferring information and data, which is what Wi-Fi and cell phones do. If you had a central place, probably a few central places, I would guess it would be a smarter move, that had a quantum entanglement particle in that hub and then connecting to the rest of the internet that wouldn't have that technology, and then you had one of the particles in your cell phone. There's no reason to have LTE. There's no reason to have Wi-Fi per se on the device if it's fast enough, and this will be really just a thing that would be scaled up, but it is the first experiment that shows real chances that in the next 30 to 100 years, technology will be great. It also is, as far as we understand the universe, or at least I understand the universe, impossible to snoop on quantum entangled particles. So no more tapping phones or anything like that. I suppose you could tap the receiver part, that receiving station. It would also potentially be a way for any far distance spacecraft to communicate instantaneously, or even potentially an alien species if one was found to communicate instantaneously with us back to Earth. Whereas I believe the closest potential place we know of to the solar system is 4 light years away. So if they tried to send any information back using lasers at the speed of light, it would still take 4 years for that information to be received, and then we would have to send a response, and that would take 4 years, and it would just be this constant mailing of information on the universe's slowest mail delivery system. So yeah, there's a lot to potentially be excited about that, but it really isn't anything that still couldn't go horribly awry. The technology could just never really be upscalable or reasonable in price or adopted in general. It doesn't, beyond the basic thing of it potentially improving communication quality, doesn't really do anything else super special. It's just a new discovery, which we certainly could use a new discovery in communications technology, because the new LT, whatever that it's even called, seems to be particularly bad. And yeah, and that's not really the direction you want to go, is to adopt a new cell phone technology, a wireless standard that makes things worse instead of better. We could also use breakthroughs on making faster and more RAM, SSDs, and faster and cheaper. Faster and cheaper. What am I trying to say? CPUs, yeah, processors. That would be appreciated also. Probably just lost there, and that a lot of this is really my own fault. I'm just not paying enough attention. Moving on, we have a game on Steam here called Endless Night, which seems to really be an asset flip of just knights fighting each other, and that's it. $5.94 discounted, English only, 11 achievements. Yeah, really nothing here polished enough to be of any sellable state. It's just kind of garbage. +2, +2 in flying until the end of the turn. I think I have to put this in the field just for safety. Now, TechRaptor has an article here. The 1990s business game Gazillionaire is heading to Steam. I don't know why they wrote this article, because I think it already came out and is on Steam. I remember playing this game Gazillionaire, which was an economics game that was incredibly hard, and I don't think was programmed right, and I definitely wasn't holding your hand by any means. But yeah, it actually is coming out. It seems to be legitimate, at least according to Tech Raptor. It would be a game I'd spotlight for about 5 minutes and then move on. In all fairness, the graphics here do look like something somebody drew in MS Paint, and probably did. They look terrible, and there's, I imagine, plenty of room that could be used to remaster or improve the game. Yeah, there's no way I'm gonna survive. Time to move on. So we have less than 16 days now. I think 14 days until the next expansion comes. At that point, I open 50 packs. I have new cards. Time for the first deck rebuild, or technically the second deck rebuild since I started playing Magic Arena. Hopefully I'll have a lot of new cards, and it'll open up a lot of new possibilities. I would say, so far from what I've seen, it does feel like Magic Arena is a little bit better, and Magic the Gathering in general is a little bit better about teasing out announcements and not making everything be more cryptic, I suppose would be the right word. Like, there definitely were previous times in Hearthstone where you really weren't getting a lot of details, or they were letting one streamer show off one new card, whereas a more direct approach would have been appreciated. Guess I could play Out for Blood. Default. Instead of playing my modified Out for Blood, we could do a little bit of an experimentation on playing an older version of the deck. Meanwhile, we have a game on Steam here that's just a bunch of Asian characters. It's a Chinese game without English support, obviously, and looks like it is some kind of laser gun platforming game. It doesn't look particularly interesting. It's coming soon, and it's Chinese full audio, and English not supported again. I'm not seeing anything here visually polished enough to really make this a game I'd recommend for even Chinese speaking players. Starting with 4 mana is a strange thing, certainly, particularly in my Out for Blood deck. I did see a guide that said the amount of mana and the amount of lands you have in your deck can vary greatly based on what kind of deck you're playing, whether you're playing a combo or an aggro or control deck, or at least the recommended amount you should use varies greatly. So if we can pull something that kills those two, that would kind of suck, but I think we're cool. Probably should have attacked with this. didn't, so let's do it this time. Next we have a game on Steam here called Bugs and Boo Hags, which looks like it's just a MS Paint platforming arcade game from the looks of it. I can't even really tell what it is. Calling it retro. Yeah, well, it's been a while since we started seeing a game that was tagged retro as a way of selling itself. This is early access, $9.99, allegedly English full audio. Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know what they're trying to emulate something there. Like, is it supposed to be kind of a clone of Donkey Kong 3 in the arcade, which nobody liked? Or, yeah, Donkey Kong 2 in the arcade, which nobody liked. I think it was called Donkey Kong 2. That did not include Mario in it at all. Next we have a game on Steam here called Malediction, which is very purpley looking. It says it's a free-to-play casual adventure. It looks to me like it's a game where you run around as a wizard witch casting spells. I've seen a couple of games like this. Feels like this might be a little bit tower defense-y too. It's free, single player. Was it made? It said it would be available in December of 2019. It's not really a student project though, as far as I can tell. FEA. Let's see. The other game they have is free also. It's called The Long Arm of the Law. That is on my wish list as a free game, which I don't know why a free game's on my wish list, but whatever. Bring back these two, and then attack with this only. Yeah, pretty much won. Well, I guess I'll put Malediction on the follow list. It does seem like it has several different things the main character is doing. And not just kind of just... It doesn't really seem like you're standing in one place shooting things. Seems like you're solving puzzles more than anything else. So yeah, let's see what other people say about a free game. Which often that is the hardest style of game to get any reviews on, because who's going to bother to review a game that they got for free? Try it out for yourself if you're interested, or don't. There is a cosmetic, and next we go. So I brought up the Steam Awards. The award winners have been picked. I suppose this was all by popular vote and there wasn't a judge of panels pushing things around. I guess that's the case. Seems like they've got a video here. Might have shown the candidates. But if we just scroll down here, we'll see that the winner of Game of the Year for the Steam Awards, which are joke awards pretty much, was Shadows Die Twice. They're just popularity things. Out of that, Resident Evil 2, which was my vote, Jedi Fallen Order, Destiny 2, and Devil May Cry 5. I would argue maybe this is more of a PC master race type thing, where PC gamers like Sekiro Shadows Die Twice more. I would say Resident Evil 2, way better choice there. Let's come over here and keep the cards. The VR Game of the Year, which is a category I don't really care about, winner was Beat Saber, and I can't really disagree with that. That's what I voted for. The competitors Blade and Sorcery, Gorn, Borderlands 2 VR, and Five Nights at Freddy Help Wanted, all games that I don't think really deserved any consideration at all compared to Beat Saber, which was clearly the most well-received game of the year. Next is the 2019 Labor of Love. Winner is Grand Theft Auto 5. That was probably my guess as to what was winning, but I voted for Dota 2, and the other options were Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Rainbow Six Siege, and Warframe, and so the options are pretty bad here. I really, if I didn't get forced into voting for some reason, I would have just not voted, but I know there was some kind of reward that was motivating people to vote, and that very well may be why Sekiro Shadows Die Twice got the Game of the Year award. It may have just been the easiest button to click, or the first button. Let's see. Do I want to do this right now? No. Now it's going to ask me every turn whether I want to do something. Guess we just auto pass. Next we have an award, Better with Friends. Winner is DayZ, compared to Risk of Rain 2, Dota Underlords, Age of Empires, which was my vote, and State of Elysium. Next we have Most Innovative Gameplay, which went to my friend Pedro, which is somewhat innovative gameplay, but I don't think anywhere as innovative as Baba Is You. Slay the Spire was the other option, or Oxygen Not Included, or Planet Zoo. Next we have Outstanding Story Rich Game, which if you're watching the screen, you'll directly see who won. Let's see. Yes, so Outstanding Story Rich Game winner is A Plague Tale Innocence, which is what I voted for, compared to Disco Elysium, Far Cry, Gears 5, and Greedfall, which maybe Greedfall would have been my second pick. I don't think any of these other games had amazingly good story-rich gameplay. Next, Best Game You Suck At, the winner was Mortal Kombat 11, which my vote for that was Code Vein. The other options were Mordhau, Hunt, and Remnant from the Ashes, which is a game I need to double check to make sure is actually on my wish list, because it is a game at this point I think totally would be worth playing. Come on over here. Just keep on playing. Next we have Outstanding Visual Style. The winner is Gris. Other options were Total War 3 Kingdoms, Astroneer, Katana Zero, and Subnautica Below Zero, which my vote went for Gris for Outstanding Visual Arts. Subnautica Below Zero might have been a second choice there, but then the other options kind of not valid at all. Yeah, for each category you vote on, you get a trading card. So, yeah, they motivated me to vote on the Game of the Year award because of the trading cards and nothing else. And I'm, to say the least, unenthusiastic about the results. Not just because my picks were not the ones that won, but I was unenthusiastic in particular about the the options that you could vote for anyways. So it's not super surprising. I don't really care about it. I want to put out a side note here. In the middle of sitting around and doing nothing, taking a bit of a break, I noticed an episode of Futurama on the Sci-Fi Channel, which I try very desperately not to watch anything on the Sci-Fi Channel because I don't want to encourage them. But as I'm watching this episode, it's either of a season that I just haven't seen, or it's just an episode that I have completely forgotten. And it probably very much justifies the idea that I should, if I ever have any extra time, see if I could find Futurama on Netflix. It was on there for a while at least, and watch the entire series all over again. Although, in all fairness, I think the last time I tried that was 4 or 5 years ago, and it didn't really resonate. Some of these TV series, particularly things that are iconic, really only have that first viewing in them, and if you try to go back on it, you remember all the jokes and the surprise is gone, and that can be a problem. Let's see, what does this do? Well, whatever it did, it allowed me to pull this card out of the... Let's see. Yeah, that wasn't a card from me. That was some kind of card he had. Let's see, Wishclaw Talisman. Remove a wish counter from the Wishclaw Talisman, search your library for a card and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Your opponent gains control of Wishclaw Talisman. Activate this ability only during your turn. Okay. So I was looking at this card, and I somehow tapped it, I think. Or he tapped it, and he's looking in his inventory just at the exact second that I was trying to look at it, which is more likely. Meanwhile, since I played this deck well enough, I do kind of know what to do. I've got a ton of mana and land. Let's see. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article here for the Switch, a Fate Stay Night spin-off adventure game. Every day's today menu for Emiya, the Emiya family. I guess that's Emiya, I imagine, has been announced. It's due out in the spring of 2020 in Japan. This seems like this is one of those side stories of the Fate series that maybe doesn't have as much to do with fighting as anything else, because it seems like this is one of those living with your anime friends simulation game more than anything, which that might be exactly what the Fate Stay Night series is, for all I know. I don't think it is, but I could be wrong about that. The Fate series in particular in anime is a rather impenetrable series with just way too many spin-offs and way too many different versions and different iterations and different stories that all somewhat connect. You can either try to do the deep dive and understand all of it, or you can watch the series on a highly superficial level and just go, oh, it's just a bunch of people fighting. But I don't think it particularly would be well received if you did watch it superficially like that. For the people that can follow the story or have followed the story from the beginning, it does seem to be very well received. Thought distortion. If I could get Bola Citadel on the field right now, I still probably would lose. I don't think anything would save me. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Trials of Guinevere, which looks like it's just an RPG Maker game with nothing else to really say about it. $8.99 English only. And I really am just taking my time going through these games, because if I really was trying hard, we would be done by now. Although I am stuttering and stammering quite a bit, so that is also a factor. Let's see. Let's see what this Boris Legion is. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Psychology Research, I guess is what it's supposed to be, but it's totally misspelled. And it clearly is just a low-effort Chinese game from the looks of it. It's $2.69, Chinese only. I don't think there's any more depth that needs to be delved into it. So we'll just leave it at that and move on. I guess playing a true color mana deck might be the way to go. Next, we have a game called Tale of Swords and a bunch of Asian characters, which looks like another Chinese game. Perhaps there is some feeling that it is lucky to release a new game on New Year or the first day of a year. That might explain some of these Chinese games, but yeah, I don't know if I really believe it. This looks slightly polished enough that it might actually be a game if it supported English, which it doesn't. It's $9.99, Chinese only. Looks like there might be a chance that there's an actual game here, though. Although, I'll leave it up to people other than me to decide if any of these Chinese games ever look like they tell an interesting story, or if they're just repeating the same ancient traditional Chinese tale over and over again. First Strike and Mentor. So put that on the field first. Next, we have a game on Steam called Renegade Grounds 2 Episode 2, which is just another RPG Maker game. Although the animation and drawings of the characters do look a little bit different, they still look like they're pre-bought assets from somewhere. They're $2.99 discounted, English only. Yeah, this looks like this is just bought from some kind of fantasy art package. Probably should have played that first, actually. In retrospect, should have played something I wasn't less willing to lose, or more willing to lose. First strike until the end of the turn. That's an instant. So we can just play this. 4 damage to a creature. Okay, that worked. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Space Station Invader VR, which I suspect is an asset flip game, although there clearly is some kind of space station asset that is being used now, because a game like this does look more polished than it really should. This is $9.99, no discount. TechRaptor has an article here. The Darwin Project is coming to PlayStation 4. I don't recall a game called the Darwin Project. The name sounds familiar, sorta, but that's about it. So I imagine this was just teased at some point. It looks to me like it's very possibly a Fortnite style game with a Fortnite style animation to it, from the looks of it. Yep. I imagine, though, people are going to burn out on Fortnite. Kids in particular are going to burn out on Fortnite relatively quickly here. I don't expect by the end of 2020 people will still be excited and talking about Fortnite. Or it'll at the very least boil down to being like Minecraft, where there's still a lot of people playing it, but there's not a lot of new buzz around it. That's pretty much my suspicion, and kids will probably move on to the next thing, some non-battle royale game. I don't know if there's anything more I could predict from that. I imagine they probably won't be too preoccupied with Star Wars stuff this year, since the Star Wars movie doesn't seem to be well received. So there may not be a lot as far as movie or TV to motivate people. I'm just not going to attack this turn, and then next turn I can play this and this, if necessary, or this and this. Next we have a game on Steam called Suzanon, or Suzunan on Fire, which seems to be an anime girl in a fire, and every time she steps the fire spreads, and so it's a puzzle of getting out of the house or one way or the other, which is a little bit morbid. It's $1.99. It's English and Chinese. Yeah. It doesn't look like it's quite polished enough to be a full game. It looks definitely like something that would be a cell phone game. Not something that you would sell on Steam. Yeah. And if I was going to make predictions about what is going to happen in 2020, I guess I could easily predict I doubt Steam will make big changes to the way they run their storefront if they're not forced to. In the same vein, I can almost guarantee you within less than 2 months, YouTube will make a new big change, because that's just the pattern of YouTube. And I think with the 2020 election, yeah, I think with the 2020 election, we'll start to see more crackdowns on like political things in general. I mean, it's been spoken and talked about enough in presentations that it's pretty obvious that most major media things, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, are all going to, if not coordinate, work towards the same goal of very few or very curated political ads and such. And that'll probably be a big concern. I'm gonna go ahead and attack. I'm gonna go ahead and attack with both of these. This guy must attack. Which then gives me the ability to do this. Which first strike on that case doesn't, I think, do anything because this guy's gonna die at the end of the turn. Or does it not die at the end of the turn? Apparently it doesn't. Okay, moving forward. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Survival Camp, which actually looks like a interesting looking survival zombie game. But you kind of have a generic interface. Well, it's not that generic. Seems like you only play as this one character, and it is mixed reviewed. So I imagine this is some kind of early access free-to-play game. But it really doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look like an asset flip game. It looks like it is the beginnings of something. Maybe it's just not finished. Unfortunately, English is not supported, and it's $14.39, and it's Chinese only, which I don't know why you would have an English description and an English name, and a game that clearly is portraying a blonde-haired Western girl in hot pants and a bikini and bra. Yeah, that doesn't really make sense. That seems... Sometimes these Chinese games definitely feel like they were projects that people were hired to create for the Western market, or were trying to create themselves for the Western market, and then got abandoned halfway through for one reason or another. Next we have a game called Project Run,
wasn't meant to
which
be
is
contained.
another one of these asset flip parkour games, which I'm still not sure where they're getting these parkour motions from, but apparently it is super easy to do now because we're seeing people do it. This one's for free, English full audio allegedly,
All
but
things
it
begin
really looks
and
like it
end
is
in
nothing.
nature.
So yeah, not going to the follow list. Next we have a game on Steam called Pirate's Treasure 2, which looks like it is a slot machine game with one slot machine, which is not interesting enough. It is $9.99, English only, with a third-party EULA for no reason. This and that. It's only gonna save me. It's only gonna save me one turn. I could have probably let this go through and do 3 damage. It would have been fine. His one card in his hand would almost certainly not be a buff instant spell. Next we have a game on Steam called Lightning Fighter, which is a shoot 'em up game. It doesn't look particularly unique or special, and those certainly aren't my style of games. Shoot 'em ups in particular and shooters are perhaps the one game style that I haven't even come close to thinking about trying to cover or play. This game is discounted to $2.39, bunch of language support, which we definitely haven't been seeing that. It's been either English only or Chinese for most of the games we've seen today. But that's not super surprising either. It just doesn't really make sense that legitimate people making video games would bother to would bother to try and cover video games today. Tap another creature. Deal 3 damage to each opponent. That wouldn't be too bad if I had enough mana to do it. Next we have a game on Steam called Cube Hub, which seems to be running incredibly slow in this video, and otherwise looks like it is just a garbage, low effort game. They want $3.59 discounted. It's English only. Yep. And this really does just look like it is a bunch of random stuff. And that's it. Tech Raptor had this article here. Fairy Solitaire Harvest goes totally free to play.
With the wild.
Which, let's see, it's the sequel
Have
hit
you
to
ever
the
lost a
2010
home?
surprise hits Fairy Solitaire, launched back in April. Now the game has gone completely free to play with no catch. Okay.
This'll be fun to
You
watch.
can play the game completely for free on solitaire.io. No ads, no parts have been removed. I don't feel like Fairy Solitaire Harvest, though, is free on Steam. Yeah, it says it's on Steam, it's still $9.99. And I think Fairy Solitaire probably was one of the few solitaire games on my wish list that, in retrospect, at the moment, probably shouldn't still be on my wish list. each opponent. Does not apparently include planeswalkers. That's good to know. This guy has reach? When did he get reach? See, next we have a game on Steam here
You
called
fight like a city brat.
Destinata, which seems to be a wall jumping, time slowing down, platforming game that looks just a little bit badly programmed. I kind of dig the
This'll
art
be fun
style,
to watch.
like in this thumbnail and the cutscene, but I totally hate that. And I imagine you see that a lot more. And a lot of the other art style looks really, really bad. So he's just kind of inconsistent at the very least. Even if you did like one of the art styles, there's no consistency. Otherwise, it looks like it's just a frustration platformer with very little to no enemies. The game is free, and it's English only, so I guess you can't complain too much, but it's probably not worth my time. Does this guy still have trample? Yes, he does. So that's gonna save me one more turn, and that's it. Jeez, like nothing I am doing is working for me. None of the decks I'm playing are winning well enough. Hey, Greenzix is on the chat saying, hey Greenzix. Yeah, you just jumped on as I'm probably only about 10 to 20 minutes away from wrapping up today because I'm getting sleepy and not succeeding as well as I had hoped on this standard shakeup. Meanwhile, as far as this really feeling like a standard shakeup, I really can't tell because I just haven't been playing enough Magic. I've only been playing for 2, maybe 3 months, and so I don't have a standard feel. All this really feels like they did, from my perspective, is they've forced me to go back and play some other decks. And because they forced me to go back and play some other decks that are kind of the older decks, that changes just a little bit of what's happening and not a lot. It's funny how this tip pops up a lot that says players with the mythic orange in their name, colored names, are employees of Magic, the Wizards of the Coast, Magic the Gathering, Hasbro's subsidiary, yeah. Which it almost makes me think that they want you to always be looking, which I don't ever really come up here and look at people's names. They want you on your toes so that you don't do anything offensive. But since there's no chat system or anything, I really don't know how offensive one could even be. Okay. So now if I just build up my hand really, really big, I can make him discard that many cards. But it's unlikely that would happen. See, I can pay 0, confirm 0, tap, and do nothing. That's all I could really do. TechRaptor has an article here. Pokemon's New Year's Raid event increases shiny Magikarp auras. Which, okay. Uh, so between December 31st and January 3rd, if you're playing Sword or Shield, the odds will just go up. Okay. Although I don't think a shiny Magikarp in particular is a great thing. Alright, so at this point I can do one. And one costs 2 mana. And then that puts me in a better position to start getting more mana. But yeah, you would really have to do a lot more to get a giant hand of cards. And that's kind of the strategy of this deck, is to get a giant hand of cards. -4, -0, draw a card. Assume I can just make this blue. And I don't think I can do anything with this, so we'll just end the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called UFO Escape, which looks like a low effort platforming game. Maybe a slight bit of visual polish here, but no real game here. Seems like you just jump around. It's early access. They want $3.99. It's English only, allegedly with full audio. It does seem like you're just jumping around and that's it. I kind of hope that I get through all the news and then I go look at my Twitter feed and there's a whole bunch of more news. But the weird thing is if other factors weren't involved, I would probably just wait until Tuesday to stream, because it takes until nearly 5 o'clock in the evening to be certain you've heard most of the video game news on Monday, and you get no video game news on the weekend, really. So yeah, theoretically, if I could change my schedule, which I can't for several factors, I would change it to a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. That being said, the schedule part I can change is to spend less effort breaking up these episodes and making 3 episodes per stream, or trying to make 3 episodes per stream, and instead just have these Magic Arena episodes starts airing on Saturday and Sunday, which is I think what I'm going to start doing, because I don't really see a reason not to. It's still very weird how you can kind of just sit here and you can kind of just sit here and do the same thing over and over again, and not realize it's your turn. Yes. So now when I cast that, does that do anything? Nope. I didn't think it would, but alright. Next we have a game on Steam called Fuzzy's Quest, which looks to be maybe something, but it's zoomed out way too far. It looks like it's probably asset flips used to make a platforming game, which seems to be particularly short. $1.79 discounted, English only, third-party EULA, and no real interest. Next we have a game on Steam called Tranject, which looks like a ugly space game. Just bad graphics. $13.99, English only is what they want for that. That's pretty much a joke. Now, I totally understand why Steam would probably be hesitant to tell a developer your game is overpriced. Nobody's going to buy it at that price. But I think there probably is some justification to say, hey, your game is overpriced, we don't want it on our storefront, or change the price, which gives them more options. Of course, Steam is getting a cut, so they don't care, as long as they get their 30% cut on the sales of games. But they kind of should care, because if they don't keep the PC video game marketplace healthy and keep people buying and get sales, then they don't get a cut. 30% of zero sales is still zero. So they probably should offer some helpful, possibly mandatory advice to tell people they need to be more realistic in the pricing of their stuff. Next, we have a game on Steam called Dictators No Peace Country Balls, which looks like it's some kind of troll political game from what I can tell. Doesn't look visually polished enough. There might actually be a game here, because it looks like it basically is just Risk. And if you did do a good job at making a Risk game, I might be interested. But they didn't. This is 99 cents, bunch of language support, alleged full audio in every of those languages too. And see, I have just like 4 more articles, 4 more games that came out on Steam, and that's it. If for some reason I don't get all the victories off screen today, in the standard shakeup, I would either play it tomorrow or play it on Wednesday when I stream next. One assumes and hopes I'll be able to get all the victories. If not, it really wouldn't be too much to change my good Out for Blood deck. Just make a copy of that and take out the Cauldron Familiars and whatever other card is banned. That wouldn't be too hard. I could replace all of those cards with just land and be fine. Next, we have a game on Steam called Night Solitaire, which looks like another just solitaire game. And I've had my fill with solitaire games, so I'm going to ignore it. It's $2.99 discounted. English, French, German, and Russian. It's not widescreen, but otherwise it looks perfectly fine for a standard solitaire game. But there's plenty of those out there already. Alright, play this. And play this. Can I not tap this? Can tap it for 1 mana, and I don't have enough to do anything else. So yeah, I'm not gonna win. Next, we have a game on Steam called Inky Adventures, which just looks like a low-effort platforming ninja game. Yep. Although I kind of like the background art style and such, it does kind of look like more of a mobile game than a than a PC game, and it doesn't look polished enough. It's early access, $3.19, bunch of language support, 7 achievements. Man, this has been particularly easy to cover the news today. If I was more awake and energetic, it would have been done in half the time. Next we have a game called Firearms Marshal, which looks like it's more polished than the other platformer games we've seen. This looks like this might actually be something. A kind of bullet hell platforming shooter game. Yeah, this looks good enough to at least deserve a follow. It's early access. It's $3.19. Yeah, let's put it on the follow list. For the winter sale, I bought Cuphead, so eventually I'll get around to playing that. It'll be interesting, perhaps disappointing if I start playing that game and realize that I am, with the small bit of arthritis in my fingers, not capable of actually beating the game in a reasonable amount of time. Cuphead potentially could be a bit of a challenge, and I do recognize that. On the other hand, it would be laughable if it turns out that I have really no real problem with it and I breeze through it. Next we have a game on Steam called Zombie Island, which is clearly a low effort asset flip first person shooter game. It is free, so I guess the price is right. Bunch of language support, allegedly full audio in French and a bunch of languages, but no interface support, which again, that's something Steam should not allow. And with that, that brings me to the Humble Bundle. And see, here's the problem. What I need to do is take this and then copy this. So if we went over here and then just clone this like that, so we have 2 Out for Bloods. And then we go back here and we choose one of these Out for Bloods. I cloned the wrong thing apparently. I need to clone this. And then you come over here, do that, edit the deck, and then just get rid of that, and just do that. And that's all I would really need to do to play. Then I can just jump in here and continue playing to get one more victory, and then get a card skin, and then get more XP, which the XP is getting us some uncommon things. Also, I need to kill opponents' creatures and try and get victories. Now, the ranked draft for the Spark would be old cards. I'm not interested in old cards. I imagine in 16 days we'll stop seeing ranked drafts for War for the Spark. Profile wise, we haven't played anything that is a ranked draft, so paying for the shakeup was extra. But I think probably worth it. And then we haven't played any standard rank, which also means my standard rank profile here hasn't gone up. 14 days until so basically 2 weeks from now. And that brings me to the Humble Bundle There's a filmmaker's bundle that's about to end. And nothing else has started. Which then that brings me back to my Twitter feed, and it still feels like a whole bunch of things. Whole bunch of game companies are just still saying Merry Christmas or Happy New Year tweets, and that's kind of it. Although why anybody's still saying Merry Christmas, I don't know. Perhaps they're trying to be funny. Seems like the Epic Store is giving out Steep and Darksiders 2 today. I'll grab them. I got Ukulele and the Impossible Lair yesterday, which I just relatively recently played Ukulele. So I guess I could play it off my Steam account if I wanted to and was really, really desperate. But otherwise there's kind of nothing more. I've got like 3 games that came out over the course of the nearly 2 hours we've streamed, and I'm not even going to bother to mention them. So that's just going to be where we end today's stream. I swear these Steam streams do get longer when there's more to say and more to talk about. They can get a lot longer, 3 or 4 hours. Greenix gave me a suggestion on one of my videos to make them 15 to 30 minutes. That doesn't really work for long plays for me. But I've certainly heard that several times, and the problem there is that you end up with either, instead of having 30 half-hour episodes for a 15-hour game, you just end up with 60 half-hour episodes, and nobody wants to stick around past the 4th episode either way. So it just becomes a nightmare. I've already got over 5,000 videos on my channel. I don't need to artificially pump up those numbers even more. But I did hear you, and I always do consider it. Sometimes if I know a game is going to be particularly long, if it's a 60 to 120 hour game, I'll go even longer, but almost never slower. There is also a problem with every time I stop recording, that gives me and my subconscious the opportunity to stand up, walk away, get distracted, and not get back to work. So going in long bursts helps with that too. Anyways, that's going to be it for the stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos, because that helps me with YouTube. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me, the Steam Winter Sale is still going on, so you could friend me, gift me a gift card, a game off my wish list, or just a game you'd like me to see and cover. Or you could support me through Patreon on a monthly basis, which would be very much appreciated too, and take money out of the greedy hands of YouTube. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.